Hello, everyone, and welcome to our July H2IQ Hour, part of our monthly educational webinar series that highlights research and development activities funded by the U.S. Department of Energy's Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technologies Office within the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy, or EERE. My name is Eric Parker, and I'm the HFTO webinar lead. This WebEx call, as you heard, is being recorded and will be posted on the DOE's website or used internally. All attendees will be on mute throughout the webinar, so please submit your questions via the Q&A chat box you should see in the bottom right of your WebEx panel, and we'll cover those questions with the time remaining at the end of the presentation. Finally, we also will be running 2 open polling questions throughout the hour today. So please, when you have a second, go ahead and fill those out in the bottom right polling panel as well. And we would really appreciate that input from attendees. So with all that, I'd like to just now introduce our NREL host for the webinar to get things going, Lisa Trope. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Eric. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're excited for you to be here today. You're joining us to learn more about the American Made Challenges H Prize Hydrogen Shot Incubator Prize. And this will be an overview of everything you need to know for phase 1, also known as the proposed phase. So welcome and thanks for being here. So I am Lisa Trope. I am a prize administrator with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. This means I support recruitment for this prize, all administrative tasks, as well as supporting teams throughout the prize timeline. And I'm also joined today by Anne-Marie Esposito. Anne-Marie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Esposito, and I'm a Hydrogen Shot Fellow supporting the Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technologies Office, and I'm one of the developers of the prize. And I'll be giving some background on the Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technologies Office generally in support of this prize.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. So to go over a quick agenda today, we will be giving an overview of what American Made is all about. We'll be going into more detail about the Hydrogen Shot Incubator Prize and the goal of the prize. We'll be going through what submission elements teams will need to submit to be able to apply for this prize, as well as scoring. We'll also briefly go through how you can begin to apply on HeroX, next steps, and then we will leave plenty of time at the end for a Q&A. There is a Q&A box on the right side of your screen by the chat, so feel free to drop your questions in there, and at the end we'll be sure to answer them. So what is the American Made Challenges program? The American Made Challenges program currently represents more than 10 offices within the U.S. Department of Energy, 200 plus organizations, and 100 million in cash prizes. This program supports 30 plus unique prize challenges everywhere from solar to water to geothermal to hydrogen, of course, and the list goes on. The foundation of American Made Challenges are, of course, the prizes we facilitate, while also creating partnerships that connect entrepreneurs and innovators to the private sector and the U.S. Department of Energy national labs. And thanks to rapid timelines and goals, prizes fast track product development from not only years to months. And this truly allows for rapid innovation cycles. So at American Made Challenges, we do our very best to get expertise, resources, and of course, funds into the hands of inventors as quickly as we possibly can. But with this, we often get the question, how is this different than a government grant process? And essentially the prize funding model shortens and reverses the typical grant process. In the grant process, you can see you have to often write a paper review, a full application process. You begin performing, prepare and submit reimbursement requests, and then from there, request is reviewed and a reimbursement is issued. The nice thing about the prize award process is you begin performing immediately, and from here you submit a completed submission package, which is scored, and then winners receive payment. And something to note that is very specific to the prize award model is once you win, there are no performance deliverables tied to the cash award that you receive. We, of course, hope that you use this money to advance your innovations. However, it's entirely up to you how you spend your funds. So we will start with a bigger picture overview of phase 1 for this prize, and we'll be going through, as I mentioned, submission elements, scoring, as well as how you can begin to submit your application on the HeroX website. So bigger picture, what is the Hydrogen Shot Incubator Prize? It is a $2.6 million prize competition, and it consists of 2 phases and a pitch day. So phase 1, as I mentioned, which is also known as the proposed phase, phase 2, which is also known as the proof phase, and a pitch day with investors 18 months after phase 2 ends. And we'll be going into more detail about each of these phases, but just wanted to give a quick overview. So now I'll hand it over to Anne Marie, and she'll be giving you an overview of the hydrogen program as it relates to this prize.
Thank you, Lisa. So the hydrogen program is a DOE-wide multi-office effort which prioritizes the production of affordable, clean hydrogen and the efficient, safe development of hydrogen infrastructure. These RD, D&D efforts will enable multiple end-use applications for hydrogen at scale. More information on the research, development, and demonstration and deployment activities of this program can be found in the recent hydrogen program plan, which can be found on our website shown below. And I believe someone will be dropping that in the chat for all of you to be able to copy and see. Next slide, please. The hydrogen program supports the administration's focus on tackling the climate crisis. In 2021, President Biden tasked Secretary Granholm to speed the development of critical energy technologies with an all-hands approach. In response to this call, the DOE announced the Energy Earthshots, which will accelerate breakthroughs of more abundant, affordable, and reliable clean energy solutions within the decade. The first Earthshot, the Hydrogen Energy Earthshot, was announced on June 7th. Next slide, please. The goal of the Hydrogen Shot is to decrease the cost of clean hydrogen production by 80% to $1 for 1 kilogram in 1 decade, to unlock new markets for hydrogen and enable decarbonization across industrial sectors. Clean hydrogen production is defined as less than 2 kilograms of CO2 equivalents per kilogram of hydrogen produced at the site of production. In support of this goal, we are running the H-Prize Hydrogen Shot Incubator. You can go to the next slide. This prize focuses on off-roadmap technologies which have the potential to meet the hydrogen shot goal, complementing the overall hydrogen program. For a full picture of the current hydrogen program, please visit the annual merit review proceedings and hydrogen program plan mentioned before, the links for which will also be dropped in the chat. We are encouraging participation from inventors and researchers who have not worked with DOE before, and will use this prize as a pipeline to private or DOE funding opportunities. This prize will foster engagement between competitors and national lab experts and provide investment opportunities to these disruptive technologies with the potential to meet the hydrogen shot goal. I'm really excited about this prize, and I'm excited to get it sort of moving along today. And with that, I'll pass it back to Lisa to talk more about the details of the prize.
Thanks, Anne Marie. So just to give a little bit more detail from that overview on what we're looking for, specifically for phase 1, the goal is that we're seeking novel concepts that have the potential to meet the hydrogen goal, as Anne Marie mentioned, of $1 per kilogram of clean hydrogen in 1 decade. So this comes from the rules document, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but submissions should describe the work already completed towards defining or exploring the novel concept, include enough detail for reviewers to be able to rate the concept, which we'll talk about reviewers as well, based upon design or experimental work that's already been accomplished, detail the assumptions made, and address the system boundary conditions, mass and energy balance, preliminary levelized cost of hydrogen, and CO2 emission estimates as applicable. And then lastly, include quantitative information on all necessary feedstocks as estimated yield of hydrogen, and identification of any expected byproducts or waste products, as well as the expected hydrogen purity. And all of this information can be found in the rules, which we'll go over in a moment, but this is bigger picture, the goal that we're looking for phase 1 for teams to apply. So as I mentioned, there are 2 phases for this prize as well as a pitch day. For phase 1, there will be up to 10 winners that will receive $10,000 in cash and $50,000 in laboratory vouchers. Winners then are eligible to compete in phase 2 if they're winners of phase 1. And vouchers are used to fund work at national laboratories to accelerate the production, testing, improvement, and validation of your innovations. As you can see, for phase 2, up to 5 winners will receive $100,000 in cash and $300,000 in vouchers. And then there will also be a pitch day 18 months after phase 2, where winning teams from phase 2 can choose to submit pitch materials and attend a pitch day where they can present their technology to potential investors and commercial partners. So what do you need to submit to be able to be a part of this prize? We'll be going over each step now. But before we do so, as I mentioned a few times, the rules have all the information you need to be successful to apply for this prize. And we ask that you please read them carefully. They can be found under the resources tab on the Hydrogen Shot Incubator HeroX page. And if you go to herox.com/hydrogen shot prize, that's where you can find the rules. We will be going over a lot of the information, the rules today, but again, we do ask that you read them in more detail and make sure that you have all the information you need to apply. Next slide, thanks. So this is a brief overview of eligibility. Again, please read the rules to make sure that you are eligible. But the competition is open to the following entities: private entities, for-profit and nonprofit, non-federal government entities, academic institutions in the United States. And something to note is private entities and non-federal government entities are subject to the following requirements. Individuals or teams must be a part or represent a legally formed entity to compete. So individuals can form an LLC in the US to fulfill this requirement. So please keep that in mind if you're an individual that plans on applying for this prize. Individuals competing as part of a team may participate if they're legally authorized to work in the United States. And lastly, private entities must be incorporated and maintain a primary place of business in the US. So a quick list of ineligibilities: federal entities and federal employees cannot apply for this prize. Employees of an organization that co-sponsor this program with DOE also cannot apply. Individuals who've worked at DOE in the last 6 months, or anyone who lives in a household with them. And then lastly, national laboratory employees. But as I mentioned a few times, please be sure to review the rules to make sure that you are eligible before you start applying for this prize. So bigger picture, what are we looking for? We are looking for US-based teams with desire to transform ideas into impactful new solutions. And if you want to compete, we highly encourage you to do so. We're looking for those that have big ideas in the hydrogen production space. Whether you're a scientist, a student, an entrepreneur, or someone with a big idea, we really do want to hear from you. And again, advantages of competing include winning increasingly significant cash prizes, receiving vouchers to access expertise at national labs, and then also connecting with potential investors and commercial partners about your innovation. So some important dates to note: this prize did officially launch on June 6, 2022. The deadline to apply for this prize is August 17th, 2022. So be sure to mark your calendars and get your submissions in before then. And then we will be announcing winners for phase 1 on October 7th, 2022. So now we'll review each part of your submission package and what that looks like. We'll be going into detail for each one, but bigger picture, you will need to submit a cover page up to a 90-second video. You will need to submit a concept narrative that answers 4 questions about the innovation, potential, team, and diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, 1 summary PowerPoint slide, and also optional, a letter of commitment or support. And we'll be going over each one now. So for your cover page, this is required. It is not scored by expert reviewers, which we'll be talking about in a little bit, but the expert reviewers will be reviewing applications. And it also is public, meaning when the prize closes, the public can go onto the HeroX website and see your cover page. So this is pretty self-explanatory, but you do want to list basic information about your submission. So your project name, your mission in a few words, your link to your 90-second video, your key project members, who's on your team, as well as keywords to describe your solution, and of course your location, your city, state, and your 9-digit zip code. Next, we will ask you to submit a summary slide. This is required. It will be scored by expert reviewers, and it also will be public. So we ask that you make 1 public-facing slide that contains technically specific details that can be understood by most people. So there is no template for this. Feel free to present the information as you see fit, and also be sure that it is readable in a standard printout format or conference room projection. Next, we also will have you submit a video that will be required. It will also be scored, and it will be public. So some things to keep in mind is this is your first impression with expert reviewers as well as the public. Be sure to be creative and focus on the content. We highly suggest watching previous winners videos. You can go to the American Made Challenges YouTube channel to find those videos. And then lastly, of course, always good to get feedback before you post publicly. So some suggested content for this is the concept you're developing, of course, why your innovation has potential to be transformational and achieve the hydrogen goal, and describe your team and faculties, your ability to safely carry out this project. So then getting into the bulk of applying for this prize, there are 4 questions for your technical narrative. This is required and it will be scored, but it will not be public facing. So again, remember your audience are these expert reviewers. Be specific and also pay attention to the word count. As I mentioned, there will be 4 questions and the individual answers to the questions do not have a word limit. However, the aggregate response to the 4 questions combined may not exceed 1,500 words. This doesn't include captions, figures, graphs, or references, but you must include a word count at the end of your submission. And we also allow you to include up to 5 supporting images, figures, or graphs. The reviewers will score the questions based on the content you have provided. So as you can see here, the first question to respond to is, what is the innovation and what is its potential to drive down the cost of clean hydrogen production? As you can see on the left-hand side, there is suggested content, and how your narrative will be scored is on the right. The content bullets are only suggestions to guide your responses, so ultimately each team or individual needs to decide where to focus their answers. And you can find each of these questions in the rules as well, but on the left you can see suggested content, as well on the right as well how expert reviewers will be reviewing your content and scoring accordingly. So next slide. For question 2, this is around potential. Again, this will be required, scored, but not public. And we ask you answer, why will your innovation be successful? Again, you can see on the left-hand side, there's suggested content, and on the right side will be what expert reviewers will be reviewing and the criteria. And again, the suggested content as well as the review criteria is all laid out in the rules as well for you to review. Next slide. Thanks. So third question, again, is required, scored, but is not public. So this is around your accomplishments and your team. What have you done to date and what qualities give you a competitive edge? Again, you can see the suggested content on the left to review and the review criteria for expert reviewers on the right. And then lastly, question 4, your diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. This is required, will be scored by expert reviewers, but is not public. And as you can see, suggested content on the left, as well as review criteria on the right, that can be reviewed in more details in the rules as you apply for this prize. And then lastly, a letter of support. This is optional, so this is not required. It will not be scored by expert reviewers, and it is also not public. However, if you so choose, you can attach a 1-page letter of support from other relevant entities, whether that is potential users or partners. A letter of support from partners or others that are critical to the success of your proposed solution will likely increase your score. General letters likely will not. We do ask that you limit your letters of support to 1 page only. And so that is an overview of what you will need to submit to be able to apply for this prize. And we also want to go through briefly how we will be scoring and what that looks like. So an expert panel of reviewers organized by the Department of Energy and the prize administrator, which is myself, will review proposals and provide numeric assessments for each submission element, considering the review criteria for the elements that we just went through. for both the technical narrative as well as the video and so on. The reviewers cannot have any personal or financial interest in or be an employee, officer, director, or agent of any entity that is a registered competitor in this phase, or have a familial or financial relationship with an individual who is a part of a registered team. Expert reviewers will sign a non-disclosure agreement, and we also do run a training with expert reviewers before they're able to review submissions to go over conflict of interest. And we do ask expert reviewers to let us know if they feel there is a conflict of interest so that we can take them off that submission. So scoring, the reviewers do read, score, and also comment on the content from each submission. Submissions will be scored on a scale from 1 to 6 from those bullet points on the right-hand side, as you saw. The final score from the individual reviewer for a submission package equals the total sum of those scores. And then all reviewers' final scores are averaged for the final total score of the submission package for each team that applies. DOE then, in consultation with the prize administrator, does consider reviewer scores, program policy factors, and interviews if applicable when selecting winners. DOE is the ultimate judge and final decision maker and may elect to award all, none, or some of the prize funds and vouchers to competitors at each submission deadline. So how do you apply on HeroX? We just went over what the submission elements are and how you can be supported throughout this process, also what scoring looks like. So now we'll briefly review HeroX and how you can begin to apply. So you will want to go to herox.com/hydrogen shot prize, and you want to click on solve this challenge. From here, you'll click accept, and then you decide if you want to create your own team, join a team, or compete as an individual. If you are an individual who wants to join a team, you can reach out directly to a team captain on the HeroX site. Also, when you do add your information to HeroX, you can post what your expertise is in and that you're looking to join a team. So we highly recommend that you consider doing that. If you're an individual who is looking to also join a team, make sure to fill out your expertise as well as letting folks know on the platform that you're interested in joining a team. And from here, you'll be able to click on begin entry on the main page and begin the application process. So as I've mentioned, be sure to follow the challenge on HeroX at herox.com/hydrogen shot prize. Again, be sure to read the rules. You can find those under the resources tab on HeroX. Of course, start innovating as soon as you can, and be sure to apply by August 17th, 2022. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We're really excited for the launch of this prize and see what innovations come forth from it. And now we will leave the rest of the time open to answer any questions that you all have.
If you have joined late, please take a moment to fill out the polling questions in the bottom right of your WebEx panel as well. All right, Lisa, I'm going to go ahead and start asking some of these questions. Do awardees get to select the most preferred appropriate national lab with which to collaborate?
Yes, so with the vouchers, you will be able to work in collaboration with national labs. We will be having a list of which national labs will be supporting the voucher process in the next month or so. And so from there, you'll be able to work within contract with national labs, depending on the ones that decide to be a part of the voucher process for this prize.
Are cash prizes and vouchers tax-free?
That's a great question. I think my coworker Sarah would be able to better answer that. Sarah?
Cash prizes that you receive are not tax-free, and we recommend that you consult with an accountant or tax expert on that. Vouchers that are spent at the national labs, because you will never receive the cash, you just receive the value of that work, and so you will not be taxed for those funds.
Sarah.
Will a cell phone video be equally judged and scored compared to a full video production for that 90-second video?
We encourage teams to apply and have the, a high quality video. I'm assuming that a number of our teams have done their videos from phones, but just making sure that it's high quality and that it, has a good impression for our expert reviewers. I think that's the key, whether that's a cell phone or a higher production video.
Yeah, I would say, I guess my piece of advice here is not to put a lot of money into your video production, but obviously we need something that we can understand you, see you, and hear you. So if you're standing in the middle of a windstorm with your cell phone and we can't hear any of the audio, that will obviously be judged lower than something where we can, but we won't be taking production value into account.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, is there a limit to the number of support letters?
There is not a limit to the number of support letters. We just ask that they're just 1 page each per partner.
Can the idea be a configuration of current hydrogen equipment to make a lower production cost?
I would say that this prize is focused on novel concepts for hydrogen production, and so your submission will be judged based on its novelty and its potential to drive down the cost, and sort of a balance of both of those things.
Is equity rating equal to the technical aspects?
The technical narrative, each review criteria for the judges are equal across the 4 questions in the technical narrative.
Is it possible to submit multiple submissions that focus on disparate concepts and technologies, but could or would be combined in a final system?
This prize is focused on the hydrogen production technology as a whole. So a submission that's based on a single component of a larger system would not do well.
Okay. Can anyone speak to the ownership of an innovation if you use the vouchers?
So the DOE does not have rights to any IP that is created under this prize. However, you will need to sign and be in contract with a national lab under a CRADA or a cooperative agreement. And there may be some special situations within that where there would be a collaboration with those national labs. So what we suggest doing with those collaborations is reviewing that contract. You'll have the opportunity to read all the language in it before you sign it, when working in collaboration with a national lab and what that IP could look like.
Okay. Generally, how many applicants are expected to apply for this prize?
It's hard to know. A lot of folks might end up applying last minute, but as of right now, I think we're expecting around maybe 50 applicants, but honestly, that's what we were hoping for at least, but it's hard for us to know how many people apply until usually the last day, because sometimes folks apply last minute. So we do not know. We don't have a great answer for that.
Would there be any limitations on applying to other DOE programs or grants or anything similar?
I'm not, yeah, Anne-Marie, do you?
No, that's part of the goal of this prize is to hopefully get access people who we haven't funded before, and then in the future would be able to apply to other kinds of funding through our office. Hopefully that if your technology is working really great. So this does not exclude you from other funding opportunities. However, if you are already funded by this office for similar technologies, there's details in the rules about non-duplicative funding, i.e. if you're already receiving money to advance a particular innovation, but you couldn't also get money from this program to fund that same innovation.
Okay. How are the lab vouchers costed? So what is the perceived value of a 50K voucher?
I can take this one. So if you do win a voucher with a national lab, we'll connect you with a PI at that lab. You and the PI will scope out the work. The PI will provide a cost estimate for that based on the scope that you put in place, and that'll have a max ceiling of $50,000. And whatever lab and PI you choose to work with will help you cost that out and come to that $50,000 value.
Great, thank you.
I have a follow-up question, maybe might help clarify something. Are teams allowed to have higher CRADA values if they put in their own money on top of the 50,000, for instance?
Yes, most definitely. Great question, Anne Marie.
Great. Does DOE have a readily accepted NDA for use by submitters for reviewers to sign? We'd like to review if available, and how does a submitter make clear that an NDA is being requested?
I can take this one. So all reviewers all external reviewers that we ask to review as part of this process do sign an NDA upon logging into HeroX. So there aren't specific ones for each submission, but we do have a blanket one for all materials that they receive throughout this process.
Okay. How far advanced do you need to be in tech validation to apply?
I would say that there's no amount of advancement that you need to have already achieved in order to be eligible for this prize. But we do need to have enough information that we're able to validate your technology and see its potential for reducing the cost of clean hydrogen production. So it has to be sort of enough that you can confidently have some data to back that up.
Okay. Would a U.S. corporation be able to jointly submit a technology with a Canadian SME?
I think that's a great question. What I would suggest doing is reviewing eligibility requirements in the rules. There's a few pages worth, and if you're still not sure if you're eligible, you can connect with us at the email address on the PowerPoint slide, but I would just review the eligibility requirements in detail and then follow up accordingly if you're still not sure.
Okay. Is there a fee to join a team, or what are the requirements to join a team as an organization?
There is no fee to join a team. As for eligibility, again, just checking those rules and making sure if you're an organization, you're, as we went through briefly, US based and so on, but making sure that you do reach all those requirements. There's no fee to join a team. And then if you're eligible from the requirements and the rules, you're welcome to apply.
Okay. Could you please define off-roadmap technologies in a little bit more detail?
So off-roadmap is simply meant to illustrate that the Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technology Office and the program in general funds a lot of different hydrogen production technologies. And through this prize, we are not looking to fund technologies that we already support through other mechanisms. And sort of for an overview of the types of technologies that we have covered in sort of the recent past, reading through some of the hydrogen program plan or looking at through some of the annual merit review proceedings can really help see where your technology either is related or fits in relation to the other technologies that the office funds. And we're really, through this prize, looking for novel technologies. So anything that you can show us of how you've innovated on some technology to make it cheaper to produce hydrogen is sort of a benefit to you in applying to this prize. So there's a few different ways that you can look at what we've funded recently. And I would say particularly through the annual merit review proceedings, you can search different presentations. And so it makes it a little bit easier if you're looking for a specific kind of area to compare what you have to.
Okay. The next question is, can you repeat the information about the prizes at different stages?
If they're just looking for cash, and I'm not sure exactly with this question, but I'm guessing for phase one, there will be 10 teams that will be awarded 10,000 in cash, 50,000 in vouchers. For phase two, we'll be awarding 5 teams, 100,000 in cash and 300,000 in vouchers. And then 18 months after phase two ends, we'll ask winning teams from phase one to be able to submit pitch materials and also be a part of pitch day with investors. The dates for those, as we've mentioned, is August 17th for phase one is the due date for being able to apply. We'll be announcing in October the winners, and then we'll have phase two from October until June of 2023, and then pitch day 18 months after that.
And you can find all of this information on the HeroX website if you need to refer back to it and in that rules document.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be clear, the details that Lisa went through today about the submission was just for phase one. And information, like the detailed information for phase two can be found in the rules, but that's what was covered today.
Thank you.
The next few questions are going to be about the hydrogen production. The first one is just asking if this is limited to a hydrogen production innovation or if it can be for storage concepts as well.
It cannot.
So production only.
Correct, yes.
Does the $1 per kilogram hydrogen goal include delivery costs or just production?
Just production, not delivery costs.
Can a proposal focus on just one element of hydrogen production, such as novel forms of CCS used in steam methane reforming?
I believe so. I would double check with the application specifically not of interest in the rules document. When we post all of these questions on the HeroX website, I'll be sure to have a more solid answer. But keep in mind that for this prize, you should be considering the entire technology as part of your innovation and not just a single aspect.
Okay, the next question is, I think we already answered this, but will the winner be able to retain IP of the technology or will DOE own it?
DOE does not own IP for this technology.
Okay. Is it possible to submit multiple submissions that would be combined? Oh, this one we already kind of asked, didn't we? In a final system. I think that's a repeat question. If team members are from 2 companies in 2 places, what location and zip code should be used on the cover page?
We suggest you use the information of your team captain. So whoever is your team captain, wherever they're located, put their information on the cover page.
Okay. Is focusing on hydrogen producing technologies using electrolysis, or can enabler technologies also be a fit, diagnostics or controls?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I will have a response to that on the HeroX website.
And just to clarify, we will be, all these questions are asked, we will be writing out the responses as well, as Anne-Marie mentioned, and in the next few days or so, they'll be posted there for further review.
Does off-road mapping innovations include technologies currently in a DOE contract or award that ends in 2023?
That's quite a specific question. I think I'll get more clarity on that question, on the answer to that question. But I think, again, the novelty of your innovation is something that is key to this application. And so if it's the same as a technology that we've just funded, it is likely not to score high in the novelty aspect.
Yeah, and I would say if you have a specific question about your technology, you can reach out to the email on the slide. Okay, does the award cover embridlement and storage?
No.
Is a formal TEA, LCA, such as DOE GREET, required as part of the submission elements?
Something like that is not required, but certainly as much of that as you can, as close to that as you could get would be really fantastic, but it's not required that you use that tool or a tool like it in order to show your pathway to reducing the cost. But as much information as you can give us sort of toward in that direction would be really great.
Okay. Are certain geographic locations prioritized or deprioritized?
We do not prioritize or deprioritize specific locations.
Okay. What if your team has a really innovative idea but are unable in a time period to gather DEI aspects?
We ask that you just do your best to answer all 4 of the questions within the time frame by August 17th. So.
Okay, what is the hourly rate for lab support?
I think this depends by lab and is something that if you win a voucher will be negotiated depending on the lab and the PI that you're working with.
And then on that note, which labs are equipped to work with hydrogen?
As I think Lisa mentioned, we'll be putting out a list of labs that will be participating in the voucher program in the next month or so.
Okay. What are the boundaries of the hydrogen production facilities, such as production only or complete systems, including compression?
The boundary on the system for production is just the production, including any waste mitigation that you have to consider as part of your technology. But anything past sort of transportation, past the production point, so anything you'd have to do to, for instance, transport it or store it, it does not need to be included as part of your system.
Okay. Will there be DEI or Justice 40 focused expert reviewers as part of the judging panel?
We plan on having the judging panel be working directly with national laboratory employees. And so we haven't put a panel together yet, but we'll know more in the next month or so. So I can't really answer that directly, but we're currently doing some outreach to reviewers.
Another question about if you cannot satisfy the DEI requirements. I think we answered that. Just do the best you can. Next question is, can a team submit more than one technology?
Yes, I think in the rules, a team can only submit up to three different applications. Any more than that, and sort of only the latest ones will be considered. Also, the 3 different submissions have to be on disparate ideas. They can't be 3 submissions that are very related to one another.
Okay. Assuming a phase 1 grant is given, what additional information or evaluations will be required to be considered for a phase 2 award?
So you can find what we're looking for to apply for phase 2 in the rules. There'll be kind of similar formatting and so on to phase 1, but we're asking that it's kind of the next step in the process, right? So phase 1 is proposed, phase 2 is approved. So you're looking to continue to work on your prototype, your innovation, and then we'll be submitting a similar kind of submission package to phase one. And all of that can be found under the rules in HeroX.
Okay. Will thermochemical water splitting qualify for this prize?
I would say that you should double check the DOE hydrogen program and see the technologies that we funded, but I don't see why not.
Okay. What is the cost of power and capacity factor that will be expected in 2030?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. I will get back to you. Maybe Ned, if he's still here, can answer that.
Yeah, I noticed Ned has added a couple comments in the chat. So if you have questions about the off-road map and targets for this, check in there as well. Next question, are the 111 the only technical targets for these proposals?
Yes, it's a technical target. It's a potential. So we're not looking for you to tell us. I mean, it would be great if you did, but that would be quite shocking. We're not expecting that you could produce it for $1 like today, but we're hoping that through this prize, we'll see new technologies that do have the potential to meet that goal in the future. And I would say the other sort of technical requirement for this is that it's a clean hydrogen production. And like I said in the presentation, clean hydrogen production is defined as only producing 2 kilograms of CO2 equivalents per kilogram of hydrogen or less at the point of production. And I would say that those are the sort of two technical things that we're looking for is clean and cost and novelty.
Okay. Is the lab voucher required to be used? Are you required to use the lab voucher?
No. We hope
Um,
that you are able to take advantage of it, but you're not required to use it.
Okay. Do team members get access to labs when they get the vouchers?
I would say each team gets to work with the lab staff, and each lab, I think, will have a different kind of level of access allowed.
Next question. Our concept involves a novel core technology that enables an integrated set of innovations in hydrogen production, storage, and delivery. However, the greatest technical novelty is in storage and delivery, more so than production. So I'm realizing from prior Q&A that we might not be the best fit for this competition. Do you anticipate running future incubator challenges with a broader scope on the entirety of the hydrogen supply chain?
That is subject to future appropriations. So I can't say whether we'll be doing more of these after this one, or if how the scope may or may not change.
Okay, for electrolysis, you need at least 38 kilowatts per kilogram. So to make the $1 goal, so power cost is critical. Does the $1 goal inclusive of CapEx? Kind of confused about this one.
Yes.
You know what this is?
Yep. CapEx is included as part of the cost, yes.
Great. Is the $1 target retail or wholesale or product cost?
I believe that it's just the production cost, so not the sale cost or the sale price, but the production cost.
Okay, those are all of our questions. If you have any other questions, now's the time. Someone did ask for a link to check if thermochemical water splitting qualifies. I think that's just a rules link, or we'll get back to you.
The rules might not be so helpful, but this, sorry, I can't see the chat, but the annual merit review link, which I think was dropped
Okay.
in the chat earlier, would be useful, but I'll just put it here again.
Great. Someone asked if more than one concept can be submitted. We answered that one. That's a yes. The next question is novelty or 111 weighted more in judging. So I guess novelty or meeting those target numbers.
I think that they're evenly spread out among the sort of narrative questions. I would, for your own information, read those questions and suggested content and review, like review statements very thoroughly, but they're both covered in there, so they're probably weighted equally.
Okay, that's all of the questions that I see.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. And again, just to share in case you missed this, we will be posting all of these questions as well as this webinar on the HeroX site. So you'll be able to review any questions after the fact as well. Well,
Thanks, Lisa.
thank you. Yep, go for it, Eric.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks to the entire Hydrogen Shot team, Hydrogen Shot Prize team, excuse me, and presenters today, and everyone for attending and asking all your questions and participating today. As they mentioned, they're posting the webinar and the slides on the HeroX site. We'll also be posting it on the HFTO webinar archive, which I also dropped a link for in the chat. So keep an eye on that in the next few days. So with that, I think we can wrap it up here. Hope we got to all your questions, and look out for future exciting topics like this one soon. And we'll see everyone in the next one. Thanks. Bye.